Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Million Mom Movement Friday call. My name is Allison. I've been with Purium for 6 years. I'm a 2-star crown, and this has changed my life. We're talking today about sugar cravings, but not just sugar cravings. We're talking about how not to be a slave to your cravings and to get them under control before the holiday season. And our next holiday is, of course, Halloween. So, well, I think we have maybe there's like Thanksgiving in between, or am I? No? Oh, it's Halloween is the next one. Okay, after. I'm so confused. And Canadian and American holidays are different too. So I'm in Canada. So yeah, so our next holiday really is Halloween, which of course we're going to be surrounded with all kinds of sugar temptations, but we are here to share some tools and some healthy habits to prepare us so that we don't become a victim of our cravings. And then we can enter into the next holidays as well with just so much more just control and feeling amazing and back in the driver's seat. So I'm so excited. I'm joined by our council. We have Shari here, who is an expert in holistic nutrition and helping so many people. And so she is just an expert on this topic as well, with breaking sugar addiction. And we have Naeva, who won't be joining us on the call, but she's here always in the background. And thank you so much, Naeva, for everything you do for this council to really keep it running all these years. And we have our new council member. I'm really excited to introduce Ashley Morales to the Million Mom Movement Council. So everyone, yes, warm round of applause. Ashley, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to have you share the pledge today and then go into, what this means, what this Million Mom Movement means to you and what our pledge means to you. So thank you so much. Do you see Ashley? I'm going to ask you to unmute. Sorry, here. Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, so I've got my little helper here. This is Ruby. And so I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free from man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am a Million Mom Movement.
Yes, you are.
And of course, she is having a little bit of a rough day today, Shari. She's not feeling very good, but I want to share a little bit about what that movement means to me. I shared a little bit last week. Okay, we will. We started this whole program and found Purium because of my son, who was 2 at the time, and his skin was flaring up and completely out of control. So I know that this is what saved him and gave him the confidence and took care of all of his skin issues. So it was actually only within a few days of including Biomedic into his routine that we saw everything shift, saw his skin start to clear up. And now the scarring that he used to have is completely gone. It's been 3.5 years and he doesn't even scratch his skin at all. So to go from that to this, it shows the power of nutrition and why I'm so passionate about it. And I remember probably only a couple weeks into learning about Purium, I stumbled across the Million Mom Movement call, and Amy made that, call to action to go onto the website and to make that pledge. And I did it, and I felt so empowered from it. And so ever since then, I've made it a goal to shift everything in our home and our environment. And it's made such a huge difference. And I mean, I can't even begin to share how our family's life has changed completely, our health. So yes, I'm so happy to be here and be a part with you guys.
So happy you're here. And what's your little girl's name?
This is Ruby.
Rumi?
Ruby, yeah.
Ruby.
So we've got 3. We've got Teddy, his name's Thaddeus, but he goes by Teddy. This is Gideon and Ruby.
Hi, Ruby. We're so happy you guys are here too with your mom. You should be so, I mean, you may not realize it now, but you will be so proud of her with your I know, and I know they feel it too, but it's amazing to have your kids see you, in this leadership and stepping into helping so many people. And yeah, I mean, they're going to be so lucky to have been raised on this food. My kids were 2 and 5 when I started as well. And I completely relate with my daughter had terrible eczema, and it was just so I felt so powerless to know what to do. And when this came into our life, it just totally changed that. And so for kids and for moms, I mean, what a blessing. Thank you for being here, for being a leader in this movement. And we're so, so grateful that you're here. We're going to hear more about your story shortly, as well as pertaining to this topic, because I know you have a story about this too. I'll share a little bit of our story with this topic. And so, actually, Jared has even more profound story with the sugar addiction cravings. For me, I was never so much of a sweet tooth person, but I will say that when I got a craving, I was uncontrollable. And once I started, let's say I had fresh baked something, or someone brought over something or came into the house, I couldn't have control and not eat it. And it really, it felt powerless, because it's these controls are so overpowering. And usually sugar cravings, and I know Sherry's going to go more into this and understand and help us to understand this, but as far as I know, sugar cravings signal a nutrient deficiency, that when we're looking for sugar, when our body is craving sugar, it's craving traditionally that's where our vitamins are in sweet things and fruit. But our food system has hijacked our psychology to know that if they make enough, especially sweet things that are bright colors, and especially for kids who don't know better, they're going to think their body is going to go to those, that because it's available. It's whatever is easy access. They make these sugary candies and things on eye level for kids. And especially for moms, it's hard to control when your kid wants that and they're having a tantrum, we just give in. Or most of us just didn't really know better, and we were raised on these foods, and we just, we trust our food. We grew up trusting these brands that, even our cereals in the morning, not really acknowledging how much sugar we were giving, especially when you're having your, bowl of cereal with your processed orange juice and, other things. It's just like this complete breakfast we were given is just sugar and chemical cocktail, actually. So we uncover a lot of those things here in this movement. This Million Mom movement is all about advocating and empowering and educating us as moms and as parents and as caregivers and as people who just care in this world. And to know that, we are here to educate people on, what is in these foods that, we may have been raised on and that we were feeding our children. And I will say that for me, having the ULT in my life when I started, I was never expecting what it would do for my cravings, because, we just don't know that when we start our day with caffeine, we're setting ourselves up for a crash, and then more sugar cravings. And when we're starting our day with all these sugars, it's feeding it's actually our bad gut bacteria, sometimes parasites and bad bacteria that are craving those sugars. So it keeps us in a loop. It keeps us in the cycle. So I definitely changed. What it is a transfer, it's a transfer of things. So there's no deprivation in this lifestyle. And that is what is so liberating. It is not about deprivation. It's about making better choices and having tools, easy access at our fingertips to having the easier thing be the healthier thing. So instead of, starting my day with coffee, I got to start my day with green juice and with our aminos and our biomedic, so that we're changing our gut microbiome to not crave those things. We're actually healing that gut microbiome and then feeding it the green juice that is good, incredible. That's like how we fertilize that gut with all the amazing nutrients. And we're so, and with the aminos, it's like a complete meal. We're so satisfied after that. I just tell people, don't worry, you won't need, and this is how I introduced it to Jared, because Jared was pretty resistant and he was really a slave to his breakfast routines that weren't so optimal. So what I said with Jared, who's my first customer here, my husband, I said to him, just don't worry, you don't have to cut anything out. Just start with this. And that's how, it was shared with me. That's how I got off the coffee, because Taz, who shared this with me, she said, was brilliant, because she said, the coffee could be, first of all, you're starting your day acidic, but it's also that it could be blocking the absorption of the vitamins and the iron. So the vitamin C and the iron. So you want to wait until a good hour or two after your green juice to have your coffee, which was a brilliant, brilliant way to introduce this to me, because I was nowhere near ready to give up that habit. But what it did was set me up it brought me back into the driver's seat. It made me feel empowered. Suddenly I had my green juice in the morning, and you know what? I would go to make my coffee, and well, actually I would forget to make my coffee. I stopped wanting my coffee. And the times that I went to go make my coffee, I could only drink a sip. I didn't want it anymore. And so that's the natural thing that happens. It's almost like, we don't really tell, we're like, don't worry. Yeah, you just add this in, it'll meet you where you're at, because it changes your cravings. Jared, do you want to share a little bit about your
Yeah, I'd love to just quickly. I, from a young age, like I was addicted to sugar. My mom didn't really have much control over what we ate. Like our friends would come to our house and our cupboards would just fill with junk food. And we weren't really regulated. So in the morning, I would actually eat things like Swiss rolls for breakfast before school, which was like little Debbie kind of snack cake stuff. So I'd get that sugar hit and then I crash, but that's
or she had the sugar at the table,
Yeah.
so that they could add it to the cereal.
Yeah, so I put sugar on my frosted flakes. So, heavily dependent, and it's a terrible addiction that I don't think a lot of people talk about when it comes to addictions. It's usually alcohol or tobacco or drugs, things like that. But sugar causes a lot of damage. And, I still have a sweet tooth, and I liked having something sweet in the morning. And the Power Shake was a perfect option because the apple berry is just enough sweetness that I'm like satisfied. It tastes great. And when I first started Purium, I would have a Power Shake in the morning on my way to work. And I'd also get like a muffin or something sweet on the way. But over time, my cravings change. And I think that's what it's all about, where if you're influencing your gut bacteria, this is changing how your cravings, so I didn't actually crave the food as much. And then we're subtracting by addition, which most people can get on board with. If you are to tell your kids or even an adult, you have to cut out sugar, you have to restrict yourself, you have to stop, I think they'll do the opposite. They'll stress them out, which isn't good for your health, and they'll just sneak it in anyways. So this way, add in the good stuff so that you could phase out the bad stuff. It works great.
Yeah. And when we got married, I'll say, because I didn't grow up with that much sugar. My parents were a little bit more conscious of that, but it's easy to fall into once you start eating sugar. And so when Jared's mom used to bake us a cake almost every day, when
She
we
has a problem.
yeah, she has a baking addiction. And so she would bake us these cakes. And of course, when you have freshly baked something, you just want to eat it while it's fresh. And so I started eating a lot of sugar. And what I did notice was that's when I developed my eczema. That's when I developed some other deeper mental health issues. And so sugar is no joke. It's definitely a drug. And so I want to say that, yeah, Jared growing up, witnessing how much sugar was a part of his life, to see the transformation just by adding this in is so, so inspiring. So Sherry, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so right off the bat, I want to say, Allison, I grew up similar to you in the fact that there wasn't a lot of sugar in our home. Most likely that was because my mom had type 1 diabetes from the time I was born. So all of a sudden, sugar wasn't something that you could easily find in our home. However, artificial sugars, right? All of those chemical sugars replaced the sugar. And that was really, it's really interesting when you look at it, that many people, when they know that they have to cut out sugar, and so they shift from refined white sugars, and then they shift over to all the chemical stuff, the artificial stuff, and they think, well, okay, it's better, but it's not, right? We know this. We know all those chemical sugars are just as bad in different ways. And so it really is about what the two of you were saying so well, is that, you have to get to the root cause of this, like anything else, in order to really shift it and transform it. And so that requires us to look at several areas of our bodies and to understand what exactly is going on in the body that's making us crave the sugar in the first place, right? And so a couple of deficiencies, like Allison, you had mentioned, that could be affecting a sugar craving would be low serotonin levels. And this one is so interesting, right? There's a lot of studies now showing this, that if you have low serotonin levels, it could be contributing to a large degree on the amount of sugar that you're craving. And so we know, like, this one is the one that we can get really excited about because we know what to do to remedy that, right? We know that about 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. And so it's a question of, again, focusing on that gut health, like we're always talking about. And by focusing on the gut health, then you are helping to optimize the amount of serotonin being produced in the gut that will then be sent to the brain. Another vitamin that you could be deficient in is vitamin B. And that's because the B vitamins, specifically B1, B2, I believe it's B5, these are vitamin Bs that are responsible for energy production. And so if you are deficient in vitamin B, your body starts to look for energy, right? And we equate sugar to energy. Now, there's a reason why we start to crave sugar in unhealthy ways, because once you get your gut health in check and your blood becomes alkaline, then you would still crave sugar, but not the artificial stuff and not the refined white stuff, right? That's when you would start craving, you would go for fruit, right? Something that's going to provide you with that real energy, that sweetness that we need for our energy, but in a healthy way. And so if you're craving sugar, the processed stuff that we're talking about here that we want to cut, if that's what you're craving, you could be deficient in your B vitamins as well. Another one is magnesium. And if you have a deficiency in magnesium, what that does is that it increases your stress levels and it affects your sleep. And when our stress levels are high and we're not sleeping enough, we tend to crave sugar, again, because the body is looking for more energy. And so those are some of the ones to look at when we are talking about what you could be deficient in, that's at the very least contributing to a sugar addiction that's already present. Now, sugar in general, as again, you said, Allison, so well, this is something that is, we know it's addictive, right? We know it's addictive, and it's marketed very much towards our children, which is infuriating to me. It's in all the cereals and all the processed snacks that are marketed for our kids. And that's for a very specific reason, because that's how they get them addicted to their products, right? Is the sugar that keeps them coming back. So when we consume sugary foods, they stimulate the pleasure and reward centers in our brains, okay? And this creates in our brain a sense of enjoyment and satisfaction. And it's that reaction that's part of the complex system that involves our hormones and our neurotransmitters. So it's really, it's what's happening when we're craving that sugar and we're becoming addicted to it is really on a deep level. Like, it's a physiological effect within the body, and it's all interconnected. So it starts to affect our hormones, the neurotransmitters, right? And so it's a brain body connection that is being affected by sugar. And I mean, I've seen this personally in my own life. Again, I didn't have a sweet tooth growing up at all. Not to say that I never got my hands on it, just because it wasn't in our home. A lot of my friends loved sugar. I mean, after school, it was like the thing to go to the store, the corner store, right, and buy a whole bunch of candy. Why? Because it was so ridiculously cheap. So all kids could afford some candy, right? And we'd always leave with these like really big bags full of it. But I remembered that when I would go on these little sugar binges with my friends, I never felt good afterwards. And I was a kid already who had a lot of health problems, was in and out of the hospital a lot, constantly on antibiotics, and I never felt really good. And oftentimes, if I look back at it, there were times where I would come back from a sleepover so often and I would get sick the following week. And I remember my mom, I was saying, like, I don't get it. Every time you're at a friend's house, you come back and you're sick. And, the assumption was just, well, there must have been a bug going around their house and I caught it. But I actually tend to think it's because of the amount of sugar that I was having, because we know that sugar decreases how well your immune system can react, right, and respond and protect you. so anyway, so fast forward, I mean, I kind of kept that mode even before I became a health coach with my own family. I very heavily limited the amount of sugar that my kids had. However, we were eating out and we weren't eating so optimally. So they did have some. And then I've talked openly here often about my son having type 1 diabetes. And what's so interesting about that is that when he was diagnosed in 2018, um, I understood the difference between type 1 and type 2, obviously, because by then I was in school to become a holistic nutrition and health coach. And I understood that the way they explained it to us, the way we were being taught it, is that type 1 has nothing to do with nutrition at all. And type 2 has everything to do with nutrition. And so, type 2, what happens is that a person is eating too much sugar, more so than the pancreas can produce insulin, right? Because the pancreas produces a hormone called insulin to counteract the sugar, right? And kind of almost like the way I explained it to my son is like it captures it, right? And then sends it off into like a positive way and processes it. And so a type 2, the understanding is that you're eating too much sugar and your pancreas just can't keep up. Whereas in type 1, they say it's more of an autoimmune condition and your nutrition doesn't play a role at all. The pancreas just stops making insulin and nobody knows why. But upon more research after his diagnosis, I came to find that, well, actually, nutrition does play quite the role in it, especially where the gut microbiome is concerned. And so I got on track with that. And I noticed that he actually had quite the sweet tooth, my son. Now, I thought it was okay because I was using at the time raw sugar instead of the white refined sugar, but I baked a lot. I come from a family of like my mom bakes all of the time as well, just like Jared's. And I love that. And I was like, well, it's much better to bake from home than to buy processed, right? So I was baking all the time and I was using a lot of the raw sugar. And really raw sugar, guys, is just 1 calorie different from being a refined white sugar. So it's not all that better. Fast forward to today, we only use coconut sugar. That's a really great substitute, by the way, that doesn't affect your glucose levels at all. And actually has a lot of health benefits for you. So that's the only one that we use now. But then I was using what I thought was better, right? It was raw sugar. And so when I started to really take a look at our habits and still the nutrition and refine things and clean it up a bit more, I came to notice just how much of a sweet tooth he had. In fact, he was like pretty addicted to sugar, like the sweetness, he always wanted everything to taste sweet. And so once we found Purium and I started him immediately on gut repair and I was making a power shake, he hated the taste of the power shake, like did not want anything to do with it. And that is because his blood was so acidic. So when we consume a lot of sugar, it creates acidity in our blood. And so the goal is to bring the blood back to an alkaline state, because in an alkaline state, while dis-ease of any kind can't really take hold of a body. Okay, so that is optimally what we're looking for. Also, when the blood is acidic, well, that's creating a whole lot of inflammation within the body, right? And then we're becoming more and more susceptible to an array of different diseases and diagnosis. And so what I started to do with him, because the power shake is so alkaline, has all these amazing greens, it's so pure, his body was actually having a reaction against it. Like his body was resisting it and did not want it. And so what I started to do with him was I just took a little shot glass. And so we did little shots of it, because everyone can stomach like just a little tiny one sip and done. And we slowly built on that over the period of 2.5, it took almost 3 weeks to get to a glass. And by that 3rd week, the end of that week, I poured him, we had gone from, 1 shot glass, and then him and his brother started a competition of who can have who can have more shots of power shake. So that kind of, that really appealed to my older son's competitive size. He was like, okay. So then, they were having more and more. And we got to half a glass, at 3/4 of a glass. And I remember the day that I poured him a full glass and he drank it in minutes. And he's like, what did you add different? How did you make it that it's so different this time? And I was like, I didn't do anything different. It's the exact same way. And he's like, it tastes completely different to me. So that was such a beautiful sign to me and confirmation that his blood was becoming alkaline. And now, he has all the greens. barley green juice, which I think we'll mention at some point as one of the ones that we suggest to help with sugar cravings. Well, barley green juice has been huge for him because it helps to balance his glucose in between meals. So it helps to avoid those big sugar spikes. And that's another one that at first he could not stomach at all because he just didn't like, he had such an adverse reaction to the taste. And now it's something that he has regularly. He'll go and make it on his own, especially if he knows he's going to eat something that's maybe a little bit, you know, higher in starches or sugars, then he's going to ensure that he has that, and it really helps. So that's my own personal story with it. It was pretty amazing. I've always told my son that, you know, his diabetes is something that his body doesn't actually act any differently than anyone else's body. It's just that everything for him, every reaction that his body has is like, we can't not pay attention to it, right? So many of us sort of, we disconnect from the messages that our bodies are sending us, whereas in my son's case, we can't afford to. And so it's kind of forced us in a sense to really pay attention. And so we see a hyper version, if you will, of what all of our bodies do, because all of our bodies react to sugar. It sends all of our glucose out of whack. The difference with someone who's not diabetic is you're not going to have a reading that's, you know, over the normal limit, but that doesn't mean that your body is not reacting to it and that it's not stressing your body out in the same way that it does my son's. So it's just something that it, through his diagnosis and watching his journey, it's really helped sort of put it in I don't know, like shine a light on it, right? And really see the effects that things like sugar and how cravings, you know, how these cravings happen within the body, and how, again, it always comes down to where's the imbalance and where's the deficiency. And if we start focusing on it from that place, instead of trying to replace it by all of these artificial things, and if we start really focusing on the root cause of it, and this, you know, being no different, then we can actually create some real change. And it's baby steps, right? You can't just pull, like Allison, you were saying, you can't just stop having sugar, and you definitely can't pull it out of your kid's diet. I mean, they will actually have like withdrawal symptoms from it, right? And so you want to be aware of that. And you also, if you want this to work and you want this to be effective long term, then it's going to take baby steps to get there, not an overnight change. Back to you, Allison.
Oh, thank you so much, Shari. That was just a wealth of information. We're so grateful that you're here. And I know this topic is so near and dear to your heart, you know, because of your own family. And I know you've worked with so many clients to overcome this. So that's really, thank you so much. I love that you emphasized the going slow, because actually, I'm looking at Heather right now on the call, because I know even, you know, Heather was on a whole ton of medications, if you don't mind me sharing. I know when we met, you know, you were, and just, you know, her body was so acidic and she wasn't able to stomach a whole green juice. So what did we do? She just, you know, she would have like 2 aminos and a little bit of her green juice, and then build up and build up. And over time now, I mean, it's just been incredible to witness, but it's amazing that, you know, we do need to sometimes just like start, like you said, with that little shot glass of the power shake, depending on how acidic our body is and what, you know, how we're coming into this. So to really, you know, the way we recommend, of course, when you start your ULT is going to be having 2 green juices a day, but not everyone is going to be ready for that. And so to really take this, this is a lifetime, okay, guys, this is a journey. And so to really see the bigger picture, that baby steps are okay. And so we would really rather someone do baby steps than someone try to guzzle down everything and then, and you know, kind of like how Shari's saying, you can have a withdrawal or you can have a, you know, we would rather someone not feel they have to go all or nothing, right? This is a journey. So to really emphasize that, some people see where I am now and say, oh, I can never eat like you're eating. And I'm saying, this is a 10-year journey where you're seeing when I started my healing journey, right? So we can't compare our journey to anyone else's. We've all had different backgrounds and different, our gut is in different states. And I love that you mentioned barley grass juice, because, and Dave mentioned this on, if you heard Wednesday's call, but how important bitter greens are for also curbing our sugar cravings. So yeah, I integrate I call it my green milk I have every day. I have my barley grass, my camu, my spirulina, and it is so nourishing. As you become alkaline, it tastes delicious. Like I had my friend try my camu today and she's like, ooh, it's bitter. I was like, what? I taste pure smooth gold. But it's just because that's where her state is, and she had just had a coffee, right? So it depends what we just ate and how our body is ready for it. But I know over time, and she just started her transformation as well. So we're gonna watch that change. So bitters are so important. That's why the green juice, we're going to get into that a little bit more about, what is in this 30-day program. And we call a vacation from some of these bad habits. So we don't need to ever say never again. And what we're going to do is slowly curb those cravings with this program that's going to transfer, what's it called? Swap. We're going to be making some swaps, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that and just how by the time Halloween comes and then Christmas comes, we are going to be bulletproof. We're not going to be, our gut is going to be not craving that stuff. We're not going to be, we can have it, but we're not going to overindulge. We're going to be in control. And that's the key, is because we want to get to the place where we could moderately have, some cake or some sweets and not feel, that we're going to spiral down from there. So I would love to have Ashley come and share her story with this, as pertaining to cravings and addiction to food. So please, Ashley, please unmute and share.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm actually gonna take a little note from you and share my husband's story, because I feel his is even more powerful. I mean, yes, I love sugar. I was addicted to sugar for sure. I I could get started on cookies and forget about it, and I'd finish the whole thing. So I definitely had an issue that has now been addressed. And I love that I can look at something like Oreos and be like, no thanks, I would never. And so, and it's amazing to go from that to before eating a whole sleeve of them, So now I see the power of that. So now my husband, so he was somebody who would drink. He'd wake up in the morning. He was not a coffee drinker. He was a Coca-Cola drinker. So he would get up in the morning and not really need anything to get going. But as soon as he got to work, before he went to work, he'd stop and he'd grab a Coca-Cola and an energy drink. And he'd grab actually a couple of Cokes to keep at work. So he's drinking Coca-Cola constantly. That was his thing. He would, for lunch, then go out to his favorite at the time was getting a Carl's Jr. And then he'd come home and I would cook. So he would eat his one good meal a day. So when we started this transformation, he had no interest in a green drink whatsoever. And what we did was the slow method. And I met him where he was, because I could blend up, with ice and water and be super happy with my power shake. But he tasted it and he couldn't stand the taste. So what we did, which is just meeting him where he's at, is those terrible little protein shakes that have dairy and that have terrible chemical sweeteners. But that's what he could handle. He would mix his power shake with that. And I did not argue with him because he was getting his greens in. And slowly he was like, I think I'm going to go down to like half of this this, if you can even call it a protein shake, and with my power shake, and then do half water. And then slowly he got to a point where he's like, okay, I'm going to try it with just water today. And I'm like, okay. And he did just water for a couple of days. And he tried to go back to adding in that protein shake. And he's like, this tastes terrible. And I'm like, yes. So it was so amazing to see that shift happen. And as far as his Coca-Cola intake, it completely tailored down to absolutely nothing. I would say it took him about 3 months. And so I'm still so proud of him and what he's been able to accomplish, and drop 20 pounds and just feel energy and feel alive. And he knows now that when he misses out on his power shake, because he'll have like work lunches that he has to go on, and And he's like, you know what? I went on that work lunch. I'm having my power shake for dinner. So he loves it and craves it now. And so to go from somebody who was, he was brought up in a home that was just, standard American diet, not crazy sugar, but, not really high in greens and fruit. And then once he hit his teen years and when he started working, he's making his own money. Of course, he's buying his own sweets. So to have this high level of processed food in your life, to go from that to be able to enjoy a power shake with just ice and water, I'm happy with his transformation. So that just shows that power of adding in those bitters so that I can, counteract all of the sweet addictions.
Wow, thank you, Ashley. That was really powerful story. And, I think all of us, have someone in our life that was like that and that we can relate, or all of us can relate in some way. So I know for myself as someone who was so, a lot of us reach for sugar because we're sleep deprived too. So there's like a component to when we have to work and, just to keep our energy going, we grab that sugar, right, for that quick fix. So that's also, it's just those sugary drinks that you said he was drinking in the morning. It's usually because we're tired, and that's what gets us going. So what this protocol actually addresses, it addresses the bitters that help curb the cravings, but it also addresses sleep, which is a huge component of why we're craving sugar. And as someone who myself dealt with was very ADD, I would need, I know that I was looking for those quick stimulants, and that this provides this level of energy throughout the day that now I don't look to those quick fixes anymore, because you have a sustained amount of those. So of that energy, real clean energy, and those amino acids, right? That protein, just it wakes you up. You feel so alert. And it also, to me, I think because the nutrition is so complete in this program, it covers all our bases. So like Sherry was saying, when we're low in the B, I mean, our Power Shake has 200% or something of the B12, and from spirulina, from natural sources, not from synthetic, right? So we're getting bioavailable real vitamins, and it is just, flooding ourselves so that we're not going to be looking for those quick fixes. Typically during the holiday season, a lot of us most people gain 10 to 15 pounds. So we may be doing fine now, but I know that during the holiday seasons, so we're going to be, all of us, starting together. I know that, a lot of us are, start right away, but a lot of us are starting October 1st to do that 30 days to curb your sugar cravings till Halloween, which is going to be a great time because, of course, we're going to be surrounded with, a lot of junk. And then we're also going to be encouraging that we do healthy, healthy type of Halloween. And so I want to talk about swaps a little bit. For me, this is one of my favorite swaps, and I'd love to hear some in the chat, some of your favorite swaps now that you're on this lifestyle. Please share. I know I used to have a crazy chocolate craving, and I would crave Reese's peanut butter cups. Okay. That was my weakness, was chocolate and peanut butter. Right. And I couldn't avoid it. And so what I started to do was get either the Epigenius family, which my kids love. That's our shake in the morning. That's our kids' full, complete multivitamin, pre and probiotic, complete chocolate shake. It's delicious. Or the MVP chocolate. Both of them are so delicious. We also have an MVP family for children. Delicious. Okay. Completely hard to believe. The only thing, it's all with natural sugar. So from fruit and berries. So we have this incredible rich chocolate with, organic cacao and a blend of all these fruits and veggies you can't imagine that are in there. And then what I do is I put a banana and a scoop of an organic nut butter. And I just add mostly water, but just a little bit of like an organic plant milk. And I blend that. And to me, that has replaced, whenever I'm craving that, Reese's or whatever kind of feeling, that sugar, that chocolate peanut butter combo, that's what I call my Reese's peanut butter cup shake. But I'd love to hear some of yours, because we're going to be working on together as a community because it's all about support. And I'd love if when we're all doing this, we can share our swaps. I was craving this, so I had this instead, right? And even the Power Shake, because it has that natural sweetness to it, it makes the perfect replacement for when you're just needing that quick fix. As Ashley was saying, her husband needed that sugary drink. Well, here you're getting 6 organic microgreen salads, but tasting delicious. And it's just incredible to know that we can, healthy does not need to mean yucky. Okay. It's like some people look at green juice and they're like, oh, I would never drink green juice. I promise you, if you haven't tried the Power Shake, you're going to be blown away. Yeah, and just how we want to be looking our best getting into the holiday season. So I know that having these healthy habits now, getting this 90-day, because we're going to be doing this over the 90 days, which takes us into the Christmas season. We're going to want our pictures taken. We're going to want to have our glow. We're going to want to look our best. So I know everyone's starting today or starting October 1st as a group. We're going to be going into the holiday season looking and feeling our best. So I'm going to open it up for, I see Deborah has her hand up, and then we're going to go to Boo. So please, let's start. Deborah, please unmute yourself and share.
I did have a question because I missed the very beginning. The
Sure.
one who has the child who's diabetic and he got healthier, does he
Yes.
still have to take insulin? I missed that part.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
didn't get into that during this call, but yes, he does still take his insulin, but
Okay,
he
okay,
takes much less insulin for a child his age. Yeah.
okay. And so, thank you very much. I know someone that does insulin, so I'm gonna let them know. Also,
Absolutely.
I wanted to say is that, I used to drink, cream liqueur, Carolyn's. I'm in North Carolina. And I really wanted to quit, especially on the program, but I just love it. I absolutely love it so much. And so I would quit. I was like, I'm not going to get any more. And then I'd run and get some more. So I started doing the Kamut, like just once a day, just drinking it up. And then I did the barley grass. But I think after I did the Kamut for a little bit, I didn't feel like I had to have it. Like I didn't feel like it was almost like I didn't even notice that I wasn't having it. And I'm like, oh, look, I've already gone 2 weeks. Oh, look, I think it may be like a month now. But yeah, adding that to, I don't add it to the Power Shake. I just drink it up by itself. I like the way it tastes. It does taste green. And it tastes better the more I drink of it. But yeah, I just wanted to let that people know that I think the green stuff, it really helps. Like even with alcohol, probably any addiction.
Oh, yeah.
I fully believe that because I've seen it in myself.
Thank you for your share, Deborah. That is incredible. And yes, doesn't that Camus just taste better and better? It tastes sweet to me now. And I know it's just, it's wheatgrass and it's such a high quality wheatgrass. So wow, our bodies love it so much. Thank you for your share. That was thank you. Boo, please unmute yourself if you're able to. Yeah, good.
Thank you so much. I just love this call because it's such a universal topic. And there's very few people that haven't had some kind of addiction. Ashley, I really resonated with your husband's story. I went from a Diet Coke a day and a pack of M&Ms or a Snicker bar to swapping it out for bananas and then having dark chocolate. And I still had, when I started Purium, I was on the dark chocolate. I would have 1 piece of dark chocolate a day and I had to have it. I'd go hunting for it if I ran out. And I was a few months into Purium and the chocolate shakes, just, all of the ones you mentioned, Alison, the Epigenius was my favorite, the MPV. Before I knew it, I wasn't buying chocolate and I'd be in the supermarket. I'd be like, oh, there's the chocolate aisle and I haven't bought chocolate. And now I don't even have to have the epigenous. And, talk about the pack of, I was never Oreos, but I could eat cookies. I would never dream of putting it in my body. My whole microbiome has changed. And so I just wanted to share that. And I'd love to also share that where a lot of people say, oh, well, fruit is still sugar. So the difference between fruit and regular sugar is that fruit has the fiber. And that is the magic trick. And that's the same thing with the protein in vegetables. It is that fiber that our gut needs. And so when we eat food with fiber, we can get our protein, we can get our sugars in a safe, healthy way. And I'll add one more thing to that is Gabriel Cousins did he's a raw foodist. He no longer runs Tree of Life, but he has a documentary out there on reversing diabetes. And one of his students had type 1, and he stabilized his type 1 diabetes on a raw food diet. And at that time, he managed to reduce his insulin. I'm still in touch with him, and I'm not sure where he is. I feel like going back and asking him that question, but you can definitely lower his type 1 diabetes. Oh, right, I'm reading the caption. I thought someone was asking a question. But this nutrition is so powerful. And what's really helped me on this call is helping people with the increments, because I've had so many people just say, I can't do it. And I haven't really known what voice to bring in to support them. So all of your shares have been really, really helpful. And thank you always for this call.
Your share and contribution was very valuable here. Thank you so much, Boo, for contributing. Thank you.
I just want to jump in here real quick. Boo, thank you so much for mentioning that about fruit. I mentioned fruit, and that was where I intended to go, and then I kind of got off track, but I'm really happy that you brought that up because 100%. And again, in my son's case, that's been a really big one and a debate that I have regularly with the dietitians and the doctors on his case, because they think that, that fruit is contributing to, the issue, or anytime his sugars are higher. And we know that that's not the case. And it is the fiber. And that's another one. And that's another reason why our fiber, a superfood powder, right? That's another one that's a non-negotiable with my son. And I add it to his shakes, whatever shake he's having on a daily basis, because what the fiber actually does is that it helps slow the breakdown of the sugar. And that's what, in his case with diabetes, again, you remember when I said that, like, in his, everything that his body does, it's just shining a light on what all of our bodies do, right? Just in a more intense way. And what the fiber does is it helps to slow down the breakdown of the sugar so that it eliminates a sugar spike, right? Because when we are eating foods that don't contain fiber, that just contain sugar, whether it's in its actual refined sugar form or whether it's in like white flour, right? White flour is another one that we use so often. It's found in pastas, etc. And that breaks down really, really, really fast in the body. And when it breaks down too quick and there's not enough fiber to counter and to slow that process down, you experience a sugar spike. So just wanted to add that. Thank you, Boo.
Great addition. Thank you. And some people just wrote, so I just wanted to say we have our daily fiber blend that's from Purium as well. And someone else also wrote, and which is delicious, and you can add it into baking too. I make so much with the daily fiber blend, but with also the control meal, and that could be something that we add in, because it really, especially going into the holiday season, really helps. Thank you so much. And Dr. Melissa, please unmute yourself and share.
Yes, hello. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. A great call. So much just valuable information. I really appreciate all these shares and these, just real life experiences that have people have found ways to make things work. And I wanted to mention, I'm a doctor of Asian medicine, and in that system, the spleen is all the organ systems have flavors and times of day and colors that, it's very attached to nature and what that nature would say. And they, so the flavor of the spleen, which is very important in digestion from my perspective, the flavor is sweet. And people would say to me, well, I'm craving sweets. It must mean that I need them. My body is craving it. And from my perspective, it means that something's out of balance and we need to address that imbalance. Someone mentioned in the chat that they added cinnamon to their power shake to help that to help with the flavor for them. And what's so important from my perspective with cinnamon is it helps to create a more warming environment, and that the digestive system likes it more warm. So I encourage everyone to add cinnamon because we drink our drinks cold, right? I mean, I love my power shake and dark berry shake and cocoa hydrate. I love that cold. So I add cinnamon to help with that digestive power so that I can get everything that I need without taxing my digestive system. So I wanted to mention that also. I'm just loving how people are finding ways to make things work and then sharing it here. It's just so important and beautiful. So thank you so much for allowing me to share.
Thank you so much. That was really, oh, thank you so, so much. There's just so many experts in this community. So I'm so grateful for you piping in to share that. And yeah, I say also, you can't listen to your gut until you heal your gut, because sometimes there's this bad bacteria or there's something, off in our system, and we can't just say, oh, my body's craving that. That's what it needs, right? We have to address the underlying cause. So thank you so much for bringing that up. That was really important. Thanks so much, Dr. Melissa. Regina, please unmute yourself. Hi, Regina.
Hi, how are you? Hear me?
Yes, we do.
Can you hear? Oh, can you hear me?
It's coming in a little choppy.
Oh, can you hear me?
It's yes.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, oh, second, I'm just
Oh, Regina, your connection may not be that strong. If you can put it in the comments, just because I'm gonna. Oh, unless you're in better now.
Yeah, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, good, cool. So now I know I was just gonna say too, because I'm embarrassed and shamed. Yes, I am the queen of chocolate. My I have to have chocolate with peanuts in it, and I was using it as a stressful thing, as for a wake up or to get me going. But when I realized that, what the green shake did for me too as well, it all changed. But what I've been replacing my chocolate craving with is with what is it? The MVP. The MVP.
Mhm.
And it's the chocolate one, the one that I really like. And it tastes real good. So, but the green shake actually has changed the craving as far as the way I view sweets. And it took it completely right out of me. But the cool part is that I was able to still have my chocolate and have my greens too. So so I use the MVP. So that is number one. And
You add it into your green juice?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yep,
It's
I
so
added right
good.
into it. Yeah, it is so delicious. So it's like I'm eating chocolate bar anyway. So anyway, anyway,
It's hard
so
to
that's
believe you're
all.
drinking.
Huh?
Hard to believe you're drinking a green juice. When you add that MVP, it totally, like, if anyone
It
doesn't like
changes
the green,
everything.
yeah.
It does. It changes everything. So, but anyway, that was what I used for a substitute to change things. So
Thank you. What a great
thank
share.
you.
I wanted to, yeah, if you're not, some people, even my kids were kind of like, I don't want to drink the green juice. When I added a scoop of the MVP or the Epigenius, it totally changes the taste, and it's the most, oh my God, it's hard to believe it's healthy. It's just too good. It's so good. Thank you so much, Regina. Tara, please go ahead and unmute yourself and give us your share.
Hello. I love this call so much. Addiction runs strong in my family. My grandfather is an alcoholic, and it passed on to all of his kids. And so that behavior is there. And prior to Purium, I would wake up every morning, and what I wanted was a chocolate glazed donut every single day. It didn't matter how well I ate, how much I avoided sugar, that desire was there. I think it's the stress of waking up and starting a whole new day and gets that cortisol going. And I don't know. I never gave into it because I have such strong food allergies. But it's funny that even though I didn't give into it, the desire was always there. Now, my treat in the morning is something I'm going to pass on to you all. What I do is all the green powders, all of the greens that Purium makes, I have them in a big canister. I take a heaping tablespoon of that and I mix it with a banana and a drop of essential oil peppermint and a tablespoon of raw cacao powder and a lot of other things. Like I put pumpkin seeds in there and cocoa hydrate and aloe digest and ionic elements. And it is so good. Like, by the time lunch comes, I actually want to do that again. But I feel like I'm being naughty with this shake, and it is 100% organic and delicious and good for me. So those that have those strong cravings, I just want to give you some encouragement. Like you said, you can tweak them and you can substitute, and your body will thank you for it. So now I look at chocolate, I look at when I'm at the checkout, when I'm looking at donuts, I almost get that gag reflex now when I think about it. I still want the sweet, but what I want in that sweet category is so different. It's the food that I've been making. So yeah, it's really, really good. I should send the recipe to Million Mom or something.
Yes, I can't wait to try that. It's, once you start getting on that, there's nothing that even is close to as good. It's just so good that you're, like you said, your body will gag when you look at that processed, dense foods. You're just like, oh, but that just makes you, a chocolate donut or any of these, sweets and stuff, they will dull your skin. When you drink these vibrant, nutrient-rich greens, and even with all the, the chocolate in there that you're adding the MVP, you're glowing. And so you see it on the complexion. It's amazing. Thank you so much. And absolutely with every addiction. So when we're talking about this addiction, sugar, this may not be your addiction, but whatever addiction, when we have these healthy habits in place, all addictions start to dissipate. Thank you so much, Tara. Heather, please share with us your, yes, go ahead.
Hey everybody. Thanks, Allison. Um, yeah, well, I remember when Pam gave me the green juice to try, and she said, "How's it taste?" And I said, "Well, like grass." And she said, I said, "Why are you asking that?" And then I didn't know. It took a while, but now I know. Like, we ask those questions because if it tastes like grass, that proves how sick your eating, like your gut health is, right? Now it tastes sweet. When I drink it now, it tastes sweet, and so my body naturally craves the appleberry. But I do the same thing. I mix Kamut blend in it. I mix Aloe Digest. I make a big bowl, and then I put it in a container so it's quick and easy to go. And I take little containers to work. I'm a carpenter, so I mix it right on my sawhorses at work. And but yeah, you said like I had to go real slow. Like I could only do a third of a shake and two super aminos. I couldn't even stomach the apothe cherry for 5 weeks. I would throw it up. Like I was so sick. I was bleeding internally. My kidneys were shutting down. I had diverticulitis, uh, type 2 diabetic. Uh, like they were talking about putting me on dialysis 3 times a week because my kidneys weren't processing any food at all. And I've since had all those diagnoses removed. After multiple rounds of blood work, my A1C comes in at like 5.4. So my doctor literally told me you're no longer diabetic. And when he told me that on the phone, I said, "Can you say that again?" Like I started crying because I mean, 10 and a half years I was diabetic on metformin, the maximum dose. I was on Victoza, a non-insulin injection daily for 7.5 years. And then they switched it to Ozempic for 3.5 years. And now I'm on like zero medication, no high blood pressure, no sleep apnea. Like this was a choker. Like that's 17, 18 inches around my neck gone. Total of 171 pounds, 126 since being on these foods. You know, it's I don't know. I'm just speechless when I read all that. When I type it out and I read it, I'm like, wow. And I get the same reaction from doctors. I'm dealing with a surgeon over two tendons here, and the same doctor did surgery on my other shoulder years ago when I was 386 pounds. And he said, "Heather, oh my God, what have you done? Like, what are you doing? I want to know what you're doing." And so I told him, and he said, "Well, what's this?" I said, Purium Superfoods. And he says, "Well, can you spell it?" I said, "I can do better than that." I handed him a card, my business card with a gift code on it. Hey, I got to go see him Monday, so I'm hoping to get a sale from him. But it's incredible when doctors, like this guy's an orthopedic surgeon, and he's looking at my chart and he's like, his jaw dropped. Like oh my God, like, what'd you do? And he said, well, at least this time you're healthy and you'll heal really quick. And I said, oh, you have no idea how fast I'll heal because I know which foods to put in my body now, and so anyway, like it's important to meet people where they're at, and Pam did that and you did that, Allison. So thank you so much. Like you guys worked with me. I couldn't even do the ULT. I had to do the core 4 and work up to the ULT, like 2 super aminos for about 7, 8 days, and then up to 3, then, another week, and then up to 4. Like it took 5 weeks, 6 weeks before I could even get the core 4 into me, and then, but I did it without fail because I saw it worked in Pam, and that was the inspiration. So there you go. The rest is history. Thank you.
Oh, well, I watched Heather transform before my eyes completely. Like when I met Heather, it was another whole, like just, she was so sick and so down, and this is just, I mean, yeah, revitalized completely. Thank you for sharing your story. So inspiring. Everyone, thank you so much. We're at the top of the hour. So, keep sharing your stories, please, guys, because the world needs to get that hope and share this call. We're going to just go, Shari, do you want to do the call to action, please? Thank you for your patience, everyone.
Yeah, so essentially that's what our call to action is, right? Is to keep sharing, share your stories, share our call as soon as we get it up and going, which Nayeva is amazing at. She's very speedy, so it should be up very soon. And where can you find our call? Well, you can find all of the replays. The best place to find them is our YouTube channel. That's where you can find not just today's call, but all past Million Mom Movement calls. And I say it every week. When I first joined Purium, I was just listening to these calls constantly. I was binge watching them. They were on in the background while I was cooking, while I was folding clothes, no matter what I was doing, in the car even sometimes. Such a wealth of information, so many tools for us to use as brand partners, but also just for people who are stepping into this, wanting to transform their health. There's so much information there. You can also follow us on Instagram and tag us in your story. So when you share this call or you share your own what your takeaways were from the call, or you put out a post about cravings and what you've learned about how to counteract cravings, be sure to tag us in them. You can hashtag a Million Mom Movement, I am the Million Mom Movement, or we are the Million Mom Movement. And again, Nayeva does an incredible job at finding your posts and sharing it all. Also, don't forget to like us on Facebook at the Million Mom Movement and join our community. We have a Facebook group, Million Mom Movement Official, and we post the replay in there as well.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who shared today. Your stories were so powerful. Please keep sharing. And we appreciate you all so much. So join in the, curb your sugar cravings to Halloween. Let's all take control back and let's inspire everyone around us and give everyone hope. Okay, our story is how we give everyone hope. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome, Ashley. I'm so happy you're here. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nayeva, and everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shari. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Everybody can unmute. I believe I just did that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.